Hello everyone, I'm Nagasaikiran Nimmakaila. This is Team 1 Deliverable presentation on our project called Dostri. Our team members are Farhan, Samar, Jeff, Harshal, Kush and myself. Next slide please. For our agenda today, we will be talking about problem statement, project description, personas, then we will be discussing about the MVP, technologies and conceptual architecture of our project. Then we'll be going over sprint 1 to sprint 4 recap and then sprint 5 to sprint 7 recap and then improvements and uh, followed by product backlog, sprint backlog, metrics and retrospectives and then sprint 8 stories and project demo. Next slide please. And these are our team members and their roles. Next slide, please. Coming to problem statement, as more investors commit to investing in companies that are socially responsible, these progressive investors struggle to find the metrics that go beyond traditional lines items such as traditional performance and expenses. Socially conscious investors struggle to find the metrics that highly business practices that align with their values. Here is the opportunity we plan to capitalize on. Dosri is a free website that provides investors insight about publicly traded companies' social rating based on the ESG standard rating. ESG, that is environmental, social, and government standard rating. So those three plans on serving this growing community of investors with thorough analysis of company performances that expand beyond traditional financial, along with quick access to investing in these socially responsible companies. Next slide, please. Then coming to project description, Dostri is a free website that provides investors insight about publicly traded companies' social rating based on ESG standard rating. So it provides investors with latest stock price related articles and third-party brokerages accounts for creating investment accounts in if interested in buying the stock. The differentiator with the site is to amplify socially responsible investing amongst investors by quickly helping them identifying companies that are sustainable, particularly in the three categories. Those are environmental, social, and governance. Next slide, please. So coming to personas, uh, the persona one would be Carlos. He's a 60-year-old wealthy long-term investor that does financial public speaking, runs his own family office, always looking for new tools to make better investment decisions. He likes to research companies and read the latest stories about them to quickly identify their long-term financial position. So those three can help him by searching various public traded companies on the platform and review their financials. So those three simultaneously provides Google articles related to the searched company for additional insight on performance. And Carlos can search companies on Dosri to gather metrics to better inform his audience of the top performing ESG companies. So next slide, please. Coming to Persona 2, it's Donna. She's a 24-year old and a recent college graduate that major in product design, currently making $120, 120K dollars, and identifies as a vegan and cares about the environment. She sees the value of investing her dispensable money, but she is new to finance and conscious of companies that are known for conducting unethical practices. So our Dostri can help uh, searching various publicly traded companies on the platform and review their financials. So and also simultaneously it provides Google articles related to the searched company for additional insight on performance. If Donna is ready to make an investment, Dostri provides quick access links to invest brokerages at real time. Next slide, please. Coming to Persona 3, this is Paul. He's a 26-year-old, a recent college graduate working as an investment advisor at a bank. And he's aiming to bring more value himself to the bank and all the customers. His thinking is not only our investments in socially responsible assets vastly growing, the market shows that this interest stems to a significant extent from investors trying to align their investments with their social preferences. So those three can help Paul to review three companies, that is socially responsible investing companies with a sustainable business plan, and can get more accurate information for investment. So it also provides insights into the company's financial growth with their user-friendly user interface. And as Paul is complete his review process, Dosi provides quick links to invest brokerage in real time. So yeah, the next slides will be explained by Farhan. Thank you.
Yeah, hi, hello everyone. My name is Mohammad Farhan, and here I'm gonna explain the MVP, minimum viable product, that we have achieved. So the basic features for provide were to provide stock prices, ESG standard rating, financial reports for the company currently being searched, allow users to log in and create password to store the historical search data, and also we have generated the latest online news for the company that is being searched, and provided quick access to third-party platforms like Fidelity. So if user wants to invest in that particular company, can we go to the next slide, please? So these were the technologies that we have implemented to finish this project: HTML, CSS, Django, Jira, Bootstrap, Python, along with Yahoo Finance API and Miro. Can you go to the next slide? So here you go. Here is the conceptual architecture back diagram here. The user uses browser, and once the project is live, the user will be redirected to a landing page. From the landing page, user can sign up or log in, or because this was a optional website, user can directly go to console instead of logging in and search for the company in the search bar. And once he enters the company name, the stock prices and all the information will be fetched into our website, like the latest news, stock prices, graph, ESG score, financials, historical data, and invest in this company. And if user is searching for multiple companies, and the history of the search bar will also be saved within our application. And if user wants to explore more news about a particular company, if he clicks on the news links, he can go to any third party website. There he can explore more news, and invest in this company button will help the user to go into a third party website and invest more into the particular company. Can we go to next slide, please? So here's what we have done from sprint 1 to sprint 4. So we're going to do a small recap. Sprint 1, we were successful in describing the project and output goals, created personas for the users, constructed right detailed customer journey for user interface and UX UI. So as you can see, the task we were expecting were 11, and we completed all the tasks. So out of 15 tasks in scope for sprint 1, 13 were fully completed. The remaining 2 were moved to the next sprint, as you can see the graph. So can you go to the next slide, please? In Sprint 2, we have successfully identified APIs available for the company and stock prices, and created a database schema for objects and attributes, and created a sketch. And we tried to improve as user interface as much as possible, and the expected and actual tasks were clearly visible. Out of 20 tasks in the scope for Sprint 2, 11 were fully completed. The remaining 9 were assessed and moved to the next sprint, and the other low priority items were moved to backlog instead of Sprint 3. Yeah, can we go to next slide, please? In the sprint 3, we have successfully created the website user interface and UX, coded the front end UI with CSS, HTML, improved more the front end, and finally implemented the Yahoo Finance API, from where we can get the stock information and all other information. So out of 13 tasks in this scope for the sprint 3 team, as a team, we were able to fully complete all 13 ahead of schedule. The team used the extra time to begin testing features ahead of. Okay, in Sprint 4, we have successfully created the test cases for the user stories, revised personas based on the professor's feedback, and we have logged product roadmap in anticipation for the next fall project goals, and made changes to the previous bugs that we were having with the API, and made some more improvements to the final UI. Uh, And out of 18 tasks in the scope for Sprint 4, the team was able to complete all 18 on schedule, and there wasn't any extra time available to begin new work out of scope for this next semester. So the next slides will be explained by Mr. Samarth Yadav. Thank you very much.
Hello everyone, I'm Samarth and I will be explaining sprint recaps. So in sprint 5, we enhanced the front end UI with CSS/HTML and research on backend for implementing new features that required a RDS, and we included data metrics and dynamic visualization tool, that is Graph. In sprint 5, team was not able to implement new AWS backend and MySQL DB for login and password. We currently at a velocity of 12.6%. Next slide, please. In sprint 6, user login feature was implemented. Invest in the company button will redirect user to the third party, where user can now invest into stocks. PNG formatted graphs can be downloaded to give users access to more stock insights, and the sequence of historical data in tabular form has been changed so that the user can view the most recent data first and then older data. In Sprint 5, team was not able to implement new login and password function with MySQL DB, and the current velocity at that time was 87.7, and week was light because of midterms, and opted out of AWS Cloud since requires credit card for monthly billing. Next slide. Sprint 7. In Sprint 7, we improved UI for login page and sign up page, added search history tab for registered user, implemented a new headline section for users to know more about company's current scenario. The sequence of historical data in tabular form has been changed so that the user can view the most recent data first and then the older data. In Team 7, in Sprint 7, team was successfully deployed Google API for articles, made improvements to UI, and updated on DB schema. We are currently at a velocity of 100%. Next slide, please. In Sprint 7 and Sprint 8 recap, we improved the UI for login page and sign up page and added search history tab for registered user, implemented new headline section for user to know more about company's current scenario. The sequence of historical data in tabular form has been changed so that the user can view the most recent data first and then the older data. In Sprint 8, we enhanced the UI on console page, added date range filter for better analysis of stock trends and company's financial history. Next slide. Improvements made from professors' feedback were update on the acceptance criteria with given, when, and then keywords for user stories as a want to, so that, and can bullet points in acceptance criteria put the slide number for the professor's feedback. That was also done, and the team velocity needs. And we can use bullet points for acceptance criteria, put the slide number for the professor's feedback, and team velocity needs improvement. That has also been done. It's on page 29, and further slides will be explained by Kush.
Hello, everybody. So as you can see, for the product backlog, we had 3 user stories committed for the current sprint, out of which we were able to finish one of the user stories, and rest 2 were not been able to complete it. Can you go to the next slide? For sprint backlog, as it's visible here, we were able to finish one of the user stories and 4 enabler tasks for the current sprint. Can you go to the next slide, please? So this was the user story that we were able to complete. So the user story is, as a long-term investor, Carlos wants to have a date range filter so that he can analyze the data for specific date range. For that, the acceptance criteria is given that the investor is already on the console page. When he enters the company name and selects a specific date range in the date range button, besides the search box, then he can see the data for specific date range in the historical data tab. Can you go to the next slide, please? Test cases for the user story that we were able to finish. We had two test cases for the same user story. So the first test case was when clicked on the date button, you can see the calendar below the button. So that was successful. When user would click the date button besides the search button, you'd be able to see a calendar below the button. And for the same user story, the second test case was after selecting the date range, we can see the data for specific date range would be visible in the history tab, and that was also successful. Once we select the date range and submit and click the submit button, we can see the specific data and the specific date range. Can we go to the next slide? As stories completed, as you see here, we were able to finish one story. Next slide, please. This were the user stories that we were not able to finish for the current sprint. Can you go to the next slide, please? Here onwards, it would be explained by Jeff. Thank you.
Hi, this is Jeff Jacques, and I'll be talking about the team velocity, the burn down chart, and the committed completed ratio. What you have here is basically metrics showing our current velocity and the average velocity. So overall, as you can see, we've been trending anywhere in the range of 50 to at a high of 63 and as low as 50. Now, the only caveat with all of this is we have to be mindful that with different sprints, we may commit to certain tasks that are a little bit higher than others. So that does impact our point system. But overall, we've been tracking well. As you could see, towards sprint 6, 7, 8, as we close out the project, we did not have as many tasks along with user stories to complete, which is why it's fairly low. But overall, completion wise, as you can see, we're still averaging the same numbers. Next slide, please. Okay, so for our burn down chart, to close out for this semester, my teammates have already talked about the earlier sprints, but to close out for the semester, we had one incremental feature we wanted to deploy, which was the data range filter. We were able to successfully complete that along with clearing up some bugs related to some QA testing feedbacks that we received amongst the team. And we were able to accomplish that. However, there were still 2 items that we weren't able to complete. And it was more enhancement than actual features. And we pushed that to the next, in essence, we pushed that to the next sprint. Next slide, please. And this is just kind of like an overall metric or grid that shows from inception to our final sprint, what we've averaged as far as our team velocity, our current velocity per sprint, and also the ratio. Like I said, if you look at it strictly by percentages, or not percentages, but total completed points, that may seem deceiving, but I think the best metric to reference is the ratio. As you can see, towards the end of the semester, again, we finished all of our tasks, so the percentages are a little bit lower. But if you do notice the ratio, we are averaging high 80s for the most part. And I'll talk about more where we started as far as like sprint 2 to where we ended up in sprint 8 in our retrospective. Next slide, please. Retrospective. Okay, so overall learning, I think as a team, what we ended up realizing is if we communicate amongst each other as far as what we're doing and keeping a set timeline, we are able to manage our workflow a little bit better. What can improve from that process, and I think that falls under Agile, like just having that communication where everyone knows each other's style. But I think where we can make improvements in that sense is we did not have a tool where we documented individual files. So for example, if somebody worked on some research, and they have some incremental notes that could be useful in the future, even though we did consolidate it in our papers, etc. It would be nice to kind of have the work papers um, somewhere central that we could reference. So the next step for that, if we were to implement this, would be to just leverage Google Drive to basically upload any incremental documents that we think is supportive um, for anyone that's taking on this project or that needs to just reference um, the day-to-day stuff that we were doing. Another thing that went well, we finished the project within the time constraint identified early in the semester. What needs improvement? I would say better time management for debugging the QA feedback, in addition to working on tasks and required user stories, only because we haven't we don't always layer in the QA feedback, even though we get we'll get the code back and we'll review it, and some things may work or may not work. We don't always layer in the incremental time it takes to work on those bugs. So next steps for that would have been measuring how long it takes us to debug issues, and then figuring out how to layer that on top of like a sprint. But again, I think when you look at the fluctuation from like sprint 2 to where we ended up now, I think the second sprint, when we actually started working on the code, the only reason we ended up at 60% for the most part was just kind of like figuring out each other's schedules, but then also trying to figure out each other's style. But over time, as you could see, our ratio improved dramatically, and I think we closed out the semester really well as a collective. And I'm very proud to say we did accomplish as a team an agile performance. Next slide, please. Now I'm going to pass off the project demo to Harshal, and he'll take it from here. Thank you.
Hello guys. Hello guys, I am Harshal and I will be explaining the project demo for our project. So here we have this landing page of our website. From here user can go to console or home page, and if user wants to log in, then user can log in from here, and if user is new to our website, then user can sign up from here. User can log in with his Google account directly and no need to add his credentials to on our website. And user wants to sign up with his customized username and email ID or password, then user can sign up from here. Here is the home page of our website. Like after searching for Amazon, user can see the news of about the Amazon company here, and user can click on these buttons to see the NYC price of the company, like stock price of the company and scores of the company and financial and historical data of the company. From here, if user is logged in, then we can record his search history. In user can click on history to check his search history. This is how the search history is displayed, and if this is the history of a user, and if user wants to visit again that particular company, then user can click here to visit that page of the company. And this is the date range feature we have in our website. So here user can click here to see this bar, and when user will click on this bar, it shows the drop down calendar. So user can select the date range where he wants to analyze the data, and the data will be shown in historical table here. Then we have used Y Finance API for uh, getting the data from getting the data of company the from the third party website, so we can show it in our website. So here, and we used Google search API to generate a Google to generate a news feed about the company. So we can user can click on that user can click on here and user can be redirected to the news article website. Here here is the uh, here is the API we are using. Like getting we are using ticker for company name to take the data, and we are receiving data in the data frame format. So from in this code we are uh, filtering the data as we wanted, like ESG data and social score of the company and so on. Here this send this line is used to get the financial data of the company being searched, and this is the line where we get the history of the company, and it will be displayed in our uh, history table. And this is a link to our GitHub wiki page. We here, if anybody wants to see our project and what we did in our project, the person can click on this link, and it will be uh, it will show them the whole overview of the project. That's all for now. Thank you.